Hey, good morning. Welcome. Good afternoon. Wherever the heck you're watching this. I'm excited you guys are with us. GC365. We are on day 323. We're getting really close. I'm Pastor Kyle. I'm the associate pastor at Gold Creek Woodinville. This is my buddy Eric. Eric has been serving with us, doing a lot of really odd things around the church. Kind of showing, doing the most like random stuff for us. But I've gotten to know Eric over the last month or two, and that we've kind of found as we talk about things, we're like, oh, you like electronics? I like electronics. Oh, you like brewing beer? I like brewing. You play bass? Like, it's a Step Brothers moment. Did we just become best friends? So we found that we had so much common interest, which it's been super fun having him around, having him working with us, and helping out. And he has great insight today on what we're talking about. We're in Ezekiel, which I'll be honest, is one that I don't necessarily look forward to when I see it coming down the pipe.
I agree. I was like, can I have like Ecclesiastes or some of the greatest hits?
I still think you're weird for that one too.
Oh, I love Ecclesiastes. It's my favorite book of the Bible. But Ezekiel was not. Although I think I had some new respect for it. I think.
Yeah. It's fun to listen. I listen on the app. It's fun because it's kind of like it's been a bit since we've had blood and gore, right? If you've been reading along with us for any amount of time, you going through Exodus and going through Leviticus, Numbers, it was like every week it's like, all right, let's stack the bodies and see how many people.
Let's talk about angry God.
Exactly. And so going through Isaiah and things like that, more recently it was less so. And then like here we are back where God's saying like literally stack the bodies.
That's the amazing thing about 39. He talks about this battle and it's not just, hey, mess with my children, we're going to defeat you. Mm-hmm. It's like, we're going to defeat you so bad. It's going to be the mother of all
this
battles.
Is going to hurt.
I mean, it says the bodies are going to stack up so high, it's going to take 7 months to bury them all. And I mean,
I don't want to be that guy who has to do that. Whose job is it to bury all these bodies?
Yeah, they actually talk a little bit about, whose job it is and all this. And then, you're going to leave so many weapons on the field that the Israelites will use them for fuel and burn them up. And so they won't have to scavenge for wood for 7 years. There'll be so much of it. It's like, wow.
It's insanity. It's like, it's God proving a point.
Yeah.
He's totally proven a point. And the biggest thing that I got out of Ezekiel was God's righteous jealousy for his people, right? And we're his people. And whenever I think of jealousy, I think of it as a negative thing. I don't know about you, but like when I think about my own, like in my own context, if I was to be envious or jealous, right? It's something that we shouldn't necessarily be doing, but there's a difference between our jealousy and God's righteous jealousy.
Well, yeah, it's the jealousy for your children. We were talking earlier that your kids may be driving you nuts.
Yeah.
And you may want to send them to the room and be upset with them. But man, if somebody messes with your kids, how rageful
it'd be like, man, like somebody
that's how God feels about us, right?
If somebody messes with my kids, it's kind of like, guess I'm going to jail. Like, oh darn.
Some things are worth going,
right? Some things are worth going to jail for. Somebody messing with your kids is one of them. And
as you get older, the life in prison is less of a deterrent. So yeah, you don't mess with the children, right?
Don't mess with the kids. Don't mess with the kids. And man, it just goes to show we're God's kids. And man, when God wants to make something happen, he's going to make it happen.
Yeah.
And God wants to prove a point, he's really going to prove his point.
Yeah, he really does here. So
yeah. So Ezekiel was super fun read, actually. Partially because it was like, it's like, this is Old Testament God. Here he is. Yeah. I want to move right into James just because it's so stinking good. And unless you got any more crazy insight.
No, I was just going to say on Ezekiel 40, my just a quick point. There's a lot of times where God's messages to us are ambiguous. You don't know, you sure, what does he really mean? What does he really want?
Oh yeah.
On this one, it's like, he's being real specific. It's going to be so many cubits, and you're going to have so many steps, and it's like an architectural drawing, that he spells out, and it's just times in my life, God has confused me.
Mm-hmm.
And other times in my life, God has been crystal clear. And man, when he's crystal clear to you, take advantage of it, because it's not always that clear. And so that's, that's how they built the second temple, right?
Well, you were talking about it with your job and things.
Yeah,
like that.
I recently I worked for the same place for 17 years, and it was funny. I had told my wife, I'd been thinking about leaving it just because it wasn't as fun as it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I had told my wife, hey, look, if we reach a certain point, a certain number in our investments and everything, it'd be time to think about moving on.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day they were going through all these changes, and they said, hey, we're doing buyout offers for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think it happened to be on my birthday. And I remember going, well, they told us all this. The next day I hit the refresh on my calculator that calculated this number, and I hit that number, and it's like, okay, and they're going to pay me to go. Okay, well, hey, God, this is one of those crystal clear things. You refresh this number for me right when I needed to, and right at the number it needed to be to make the decision real easy, and it was easy.
Yeah.
So that's why you're seeing a lot more of me at the church.
Yeah, I know, right?
I mean,
it worked for us. It worked out for us.
Yeah.
So,
and it's working out for me. I mean, I'm really happy now. So this has been great.
Yeah, taking advantage of those moments, taking advantage of the clarity. Jumping into James, it's crazy. It's November, meaning this is the 11th one of these I've filmed, at least 11th. I might have jumped in once or twice more, and kind of get into passages that I'd be excited about some, but there wasn't any where I was like, yes, that one, just because it'd be one that I'm like so familiar with and just like absolutely love. This is today, finally, November, we're here, and I'm able to it's in James. I love the book of James, and I love these specific chapters too, especially James chapter 2. This is a theological debate that has ripped churches apart. It really has for centuries.
I agree. I get to a certain age and you find that you need glasses to read, and you can't. If a Bible has print large enough to read, you can't lift it.
Yeah.
so
you gotta pick your battles. Do you want glasses or do you want to go to the gym?
Yeah, exactly. So I went the easy way. But yeah, no, this whole faith and deeds thing. I mean, people have talked about this. I mean, this is. I mean, Martin Luther wrote about this a lot, right? And other scholars and things. And so, it's this is one of the ones I see why people struggle with it, because I do. It's like, okay, well, faith alone is enough, but there's sort of this cheap faith, this faith that doesn't cost you much, and then there's real faith, and I think I kind of came to the conclusion for me that if your faith is strong enough, you're just going to do the deeds, right? I think, and there's it's hard to do one, and you can't just do the deeds and expect anything to happen, but the faith needs to be strong.
I've always kind of thought of it, and this goes with a couple different things. I mean, there's things that we're called as Christians to do. One of them is kind of these good works. Another one is, I mean, we're called to spread the news of Jesus, right? We were told to go forth and make disciples. We're called to be compassionate. We're called to love our neighbors. And so there's kind of like, with faith alone, right? There's so many verses that say like, man, just confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, then you're saved. Right. And so it's kind of like, it seems so simple, but then, man, if you aren't compelled by that faith to love your neighbor, if you aren't compelled by that faith to do good works, if you aren't compelled by that faith to spread the fame of Jesus, then how much do you really get it? And it's a hard question. I've asked this even like back when I was in youth ministry. I've asked this, rhetorically in sermon a number of times, and I'm uncomfortable when I say it. Like, listen, if your belief in Jesus hasn't compelled you to be a different person and hasn't compelled you to do these good works, then are you really saved?
Right.
And I hate asking that question because I don't like questioning people's faith.
Yeah. It's really convicting though, which kind of cuts both ways. To people that are hearing that, they're like, yeah, I'm all in. And then I think some people might be, wow, am I all in?
Am I all in? And I mean, that's the thing. that's really separates Christianity from all the other religions. You get to know if you're going to heaven. There isn't some big question, and most other religions are completely works based. Like in Buddhism, they kind of say, well, it doesn't matter if you believe in Buddhism. Buddhism is happening, it's based off of your works, and Christianity being faith based, like, hey, no, I believe in this. I know that I'm going to be with my Father in heaven. But yeah, at the same time, I mean, your actions are a good litmus for that faith, and they're a good litmus for what you actually believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the rest of James is so rich too. I
want to back up for one second. One thing that was really funny is that at night when I have two young children and one older one, and for the two young ones, we always, they each pick a story, and then we always read either something from the Bible or their kids' Bible or a biblical story of some form or another.
Yeah.
And there's a reference to Rahab in here, and I had read the children's stories so many times that they sanitize a little bit. I was reading here and I was like, what do you mean she was a prostitute?
Yeah. You forget.
and I'm like, oh, I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
I read so much about how she hid the spies and they use it as an example of, I think in here they're using this example of, here's somebody who doesn't have a real approved profession, but can still be faithful and can still do good works.
Right.
For God. I think that's probably why that was written down like that. So like, hey, if a prostitute can do this, you can.
It's hard. Right? I mean, I can't imagine that in a children's book.
I had,
in a children's book, it just
it talks about Rahab. Oh, this nice woman who hid the spies.
This very nice lady of the night that
completely had forgotten that. So, anyways, I thought that was fun.
Oh,
but anyway, move on to
moving on to
James
James 3. I being in youth ministry and kids ministry before, this passage was a home run, because a lot of what was practical to kids was the way that they talked and the things that they said, and the idea of your tongue being this flame of fire versus this forest that you are absolutely able to burn down the people around you and everything around you by the things that you say. How powerful it is, especially today. How powerful it is, the things that you say.
Yeah, that was exactly what I got out of it. That there are a lot of passages in the Bible where you sort of have to know everything from the geography to the politics of the time to this thing. It's like in the story of the Good Samaritan. If you read about the background, you realize that the Samaritans weren't very highly regarded, and you have to know that for the story to
and it richens it.
Yeah, it richens it and whatnot. This one, you don't need to know any context.
Right.
This one stands alone without having to know anything else. And it talks about, watching what you say.
Right.
And it's I love it because it's every bit as applicable today as it was when it was written, if not more so. It used to be not that long ago. You say something, and unless you're a broadcaster or something like that, you're the people in the room or who heard you. And nowadays with social media, you can say something and theoretically anyone in the world might read it.
Yeah.
And so it's more important now perhaps than it ever was, of watching what you say and saying godly things and so forth. So that one really, that one just hit me straight in the heart.
Yeah. And especially it's not just that. Understanding the power of the tongue, the destructive ability, but it's also, how much you can. It has that same power for good.
Right.
It absolutely has that same power for good. And I've always kind of thought, especially when it comes to things in social media, right? People getting lippy. We've all done it. I've sat there and been on a community page, right? And you see a post that's like a little you're like, huh, all right. You sit down with your popcorn and then you open up the 88 comments that you see on there. When you see like 88 or so, like a ton of comments, you're like, all right, this is gonna be good. And sit there and ripping through those.
I'm gonna be late to dinner, sweetheart. Something on the internet is wrong.
I know. And we've all kind of been there. We've all done that. We all witness it all the time. We all witness the power of what people say and how inflammatory it is, and then how quickly too it seems like, man, there's no pulling this out. Like I don't know how somebody can pull out of this, but
yeah, once it's out there, it's out there and it's forever, and largely.
Yeah. Yeah, but man, James has always been so good. So I mean, enjoy it, because I mean, thinking about of all the other readings I've done, I guess where it's always been.
There's a high signal to noise ratio in James.
Yeah, there is.
Everything, even the rest of the book. There's a whole lot of just real practical advice for listening and watching your tongue and.
Yeah, it's extremely rich, and I've actually this is good for parents if you're having a kid that feels stuck when it comes to their Bible reading, or hasn't really sat down and read a chunk of the Bible. James is short enough that is a great chunk for them to read, and it's practical. They'll gain a lot from it. It's a great book of the Bible for your kids to read. So, and it's great that you're reading it with them now. So, hey, make sure you're staying caught up. Make sure that you're chugging along, even if you miss some days. Just get back on the horse. We are almost there. We are so stinking close. So, thanks for joining us today, you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning.